And we can simply be there, observing. Well, of course, who we are or who I am, that is a question, of course. But we can simply relax into this so that there's no big deal involved. Often we make a big deal of things. Here, there is simply a peaceful, relaxed observation happening. Without agenda, without ambition, without, if possible, profit motive. As is mentioned in the early sutras, in the seeing or the feeling or the hearing, there is simply that. There is simply the seeing. In the hearing, there is just the hearing. In the feeling, there's just the feeling. Meaning no add-on, no comment, no kind of sophisticated or anxious response, reaction. Simply hearing, seeing, feeling. And as we appreciate the breath entering and leaving, we can sense feeling of letting go, really, letting go with the out breath. So we can spend some time in this way, a sense of calm and clarity, a sense of affection and kindness towards oneself and the environment, the beings. Sense of being still in the body, relaxed, but very attentive, not allowing the mind to just divert itself and get distracted by the thinking process, which is so easy to do because we're so used to it. So recognizing that and letting that go. Gently, relaxed fashion, letting that go, not with a jhatka, not in an abrupt fashion, just gently letting go, coming back to the breath. Sense of relaxing, dissolving with the out breath. And then gently prepare the mind for the next phase of the session, which will involve some listening, reflecting. Welcome everybody, newcomers, oldcomers, everybody online. Pranam. Hope the day is not being too, I was going to say devastating, but that's a very strong word. I hope the day has not been too troubling for anybody. And if it has, well, what to do? You've come to the right place, maybe. Okay, so I was wondering how to introduce this session in an intelligent way, this part of the session. We're going to look at chapter 3 again, by the way, since yesterday the day before we went through quite quickly, which didn't do justice to it at all. So I was thinking like this, great authors, not so great authors, they speak about how we play many roles in life, okay? Life is a stage and so forth. We are actors and all of that. So up to now, even forget past lives. Of course, if we were really to consider that, our roles would be, very troubling to us. To be told that we could have been spiders or some kind of ghost or animal, some kind of spirits is very troubling in one sense. And of course, most of us would dismiss it. So, but anyway, just take this life. Some of us could have been up to now, so many things. Infant, adolescent, young person, middle-aged person, elderly person, mother, father, daughter, son, in-law. Could have been a lawyer, could have been a teacher, could have been a student, could have been a con artist, could have been a thief, could have been engineer. We could be someone we might consider ourselves a connoisseur of something, a wine taster. There's so many roles we could have had, isn't it? Some very different from others. In some roles, you're the person who sits at the feet of your teacher, and in other roles, you have to sit higher than other people and be their teacher, all kinds of strange things happen. Some people regard you as a director of something, but then when you're in the metro or something, you're just another person. People, don't treat you as anything special, which of course one is not. So all these roles, okay, all these roles, all these personas, all these identities, isn't it? But what is common to all of them, and when we look at the particular teachings that we're studying right now, what's common to all our roles so far is that they have been dominated. They have all been variations on a theme of self-cherishing attitude, basically. Even if one's been a mother or father, Buddhism would still say that we do have an element of self-grant, of course, self-grasping ignorance. And in addition to that, however kind or gentle people may think we are, there is also an aspect of self-cherishing attitude. So there's not just the cognitive mistake of grasping onto something which we think is really me, but there's also the behavioral correlation of that, where we do act very much with an attitude of, me first. One is the center, the main center of attention in one way or another. So that has been a dominant factor since beginningless time, according to Lord Buddha, according to our teachers. That self-cherishing attitude has been with us since beginningless time. And what this text that we're studying is talking about is something the opposite of that. Totally different way of approaching life, a totally different role, if you like, where self-cherishing gets replaced by cherishing others, and not in some kind of forced, self-conscious way. It may be forced and a little bit false and forced in the beginning, self-conscious in the beginning, but gradually it is supposed to turn into a spontaneous attitude which cherishes others. Constantly cherishes others. So that you have very strange behavior from people who have adopted this extraordinary attitude. Like, to give examples from Rinpoche's life, which I've given before, not using mosquito net, drawing up your shirt and allowing dozens of mosquitoes to feed on your blood, basically, right? And not having any problem with that. Or being in an airplane, refusing the food, not in any unpleasant way, just not having it, happily returning the tray untouched at the end of the flight. And when asked why, being told by Rinpoche that, well, if you had awareness of the other beings in this plane, that you can't see, actually, apart from the humans, who are trying to also get some food and can't, then in a sense, you wouldn't be so concerned about your own appetite. You would do what you could to pray and alleviate the suffering of those unseen beings. So you see, when you're at that level, that is a totally different way of approaching life, isn't it? It's a totally different perspective on our existence. So we can't expect to be at that stage yet, but we could, make little attempts to sometimes overcome this habit of deeply cherishing ourselves all the time. Always kind of factoring in, as we do, what effect am I having on others? What is this? What's in it for me in any situation whatsoever? In other words, not ever or hardly ever forgetting this burden of I, me, mine. So anyway, I don't want to get into philosophy right now, but this is like, it seems appropriate that what Shantideva is talking about is a totally different way of looking at it. All our roles, all those roles can still be there, you see, that I mentioned, except perhaps con artist, but all of them can be there, but informed by something else, not by the self-cherishing attitude, but by an attitude of cherishing others. And who knows, there could be enlightened con artists who con people who deserve to be conned and who can learn something from it. One cannot say. One cannot judge everybody so easily, it seems, given the fact that great bodhisattvas can manifest in all kinds of ways, to ripen and benefit others. Not just a sweet, smiling, Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, or whatever. Yeah. Okay, let's look at this chapter again. You don't need to have the text in front of you. I'll read the verse and then we can reflect on it. I might say a few things. I'll try not to talk too much. It's not easy, but try. So the first verse says, "Gladly do I rejoice in the virtue that relieves the misery of all those in unfortunate states and that gives happiness to the suffering." So it's goodness, it's positive action, it's virtue that creates happiness, it's non-virtue that creates suffering. So whenever we engage in it ourselves or see others engaging in virtue, well, for the bodhisattva, for the serious practitioner of this path, there is rejoicing. Because up to now we have seen how much misery we are causing ourselves and others through cherishing ourselves, through engaging in non-virtue. So any positive action we see people performing, like, Sagar just taking out an insect, I think, some creepy crawly, putting it safely in the flower bed. So anything like that, you see, this is something we can rejoice in. That people actually take trouble to engage in positive actions that benefit beings, as lowly as a worm, slug, whatever. So this is there's that, and of course there's actions which are mental, wishing, aspiring to benefit others through some, in whatever way, aspiring to be somebody who can develop more energy, more patience, more kindness, and so forth, with the intention of benefiting beings, realizing that right now one is limited. So let's spend some time remembering positive actions of body, speech, or mind that we have engaged in, and really being happy about that, because not only has it benefited somebody, it is definitely going to be very beneficial for oneself. And if our motivation is to benefit others, it's going to help us be somebody who can more easily and better benefit others, suffering beings who have been so kind to us. So please spend some time first rejoicing in one's own virtuous actions that give happiness to the suffering and relieve right now, or potentially relieve the suffering, relieve the misery of those who are unfortunate. And Rinpoche advises that one can use one's own method or slogans. Rinpoche used to say, while thinking about this, one should think, how wonderful it is, how wonderful it is, after remembering some action. But engage in experiment and use what is most beneficial for yourself. Shantideva here does not just mean our own virtue, but anybody's. So now think of other people. And this may be difficult because we may feel somehow limited and small in comparison with what we think or see other people engaging in. But it's okay. We can still develop this attitude of rejoicing because what that person is doing is creating the cause of happiness. And if we truly wish for the happiness of beings, then that is a cause for rejoicing that other people are engaging in it. It can inspire us to think, aspire at least. Oh, one day may I be like them. May I engage as energetically or beneficially as them for others in virtuous activities. So thinking of other people, lift up the awareness, the consciousness, and rejoice, thinking how wonderful it is. So reflecting on that, recognizing the benefits. Doesn't matter who's engaging in it. It's wonderful that they're doing so. Even if it's somebody you don't like very much, what does it matter? They're creating happiness for themselves and others. Now consider people who really are well on the path and are very seriously, they have engineered their lives, their life path, their lifestyle, so that they can develop very, very deep realizations of, for example, very nuanced and subtle uh, ethical conduct, also a deeply concentrated mind, with which they are investigating wisdom, how things exist. And some are well on the way to becoming what in the Theravada tradition may be called stream enterers or once returners. In other words, people who have really entered the path are only going to have one or two future uncontrolled rebirths, and who are well on the way to nirvana, to complete freedom from mental and physical pain, freedom from the delusions. So there are people like that. There are quite a few people practicing like this. So isn't that extraordinary? Creating those kind of causes, that kind of virtue. So remembering such people, rejoice, think how wonderful it is. It really is amazing. And of course, such beings, such people undergo a lot of hardships, a lot of hardships. It's not like it's easy sailing, you know. Adopting certain lifestyles, giving up certain attachments, giving up a lot of habitual patterns of behavior that are obstructive to the authentic practice. It's extraordinary what these beings are engaging in, really. It's great. Be so happy for them. And for those who will benefit from their teachings, their help, and so forth, their example. Then, beyond that, there are even beings who we call bodhisattvas, or those who are aspiring to that, who are prepared to undergo the discomforts and the challenges involved in the human realm, in this realm, or in any realm of samsara. They're willing to come back again and again and again, continually, in order to benefit beings in skillful ways, rooted in wisdom and compassion. So that level of great compassion, or bodhicitta as we call it, that is something which Shantideva himself calls a kind of a great wonder. It's a jewel of the mind, something extraordinary that even mothers and fathers don't dream about these things, you know. The gods don't have this attitude of what? Of aspiring to Buddhahood in order to liberate and lead to Buddhahood all sentient beings. So there are beings who do have this attitude, who have this state of mind, it is said. And some of us have seen the examples of our teachers, the way they act continuously for others, pushing themselves, doing something which is somehow beyond human, beyond ordinary human. So anyway, imagine, if we find this difficult to accept, that just imagine there are beings, there is somebody who engages, everything they do is aimed at benefiting somebody. You know, when they go to a restaurant, for example, they might, through their intuition, their whatever, their clairvoyance, realize that one of the waiters or waitresses has a problem, or not just a problem, but has some potential to be really benefited from the spiritual path. So then creating some kind of contact, some kind of connection with that person, through saying something, through being kind, through smiling, through, you know, talking to them, and so forth. So in any situation in life, and when alone, aspiring and meditating and engaging in practices for people constantly. I mean, this was Kyabje Lama Zopa Rinpoche's life. That I know from my limited experience of being with him, and from hearing, of course, about him from his main attendant for more than 30 years, Venerable Roger, Venerable Roger Kunsang. So there are beings like this, you know. Everything they do and is for others, and it's not just a few hours a day. It's not 9 to 5 and then they clock off and watch television. This is constant. This is continuous. The mind has been trained, tamed, transformed in a way that is remarkable. So reflecting on this, or what it's hard to reflect on actually because it's so unusual. Anyway, try and get a feeling for it and think, wow, that's amazing. How wonderful. How wonderful to be like that. How wonderful not to be anxious and worrying about oneself most of the time. How amazing. Please reflect on this. The actions and the aspirations of the Bodhisattvas, the beings of great capacity. Okay. So all of these activities, step by step, they lead us to being kinder, more open, warm human beings until we reach that stage when, we have the discipline, the focus, the compassion, and the wisdom to engage in activities that lead to an extraordinary state of enlightenment, where apparently one can engage in activities for others which we would find very difficult to believe and which are beyond even description. So definitely these are causes for great rejoicing. And in fact, the verses 2 and 3 are talking about that in verse 4. Verse 5 is very important, where Shantideva says, "With folded hands, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the lamp of Dharma for all bewildered in misery's gloom." This is a verse recited at Tibet House. Geshe-la has people recite this verse at the beginning of sessions as they light the butter lamps. With folded hands, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the lamp of Dharma for all bewildered in misery's gloom. So this is very important that the Buddhas teach. As you may know, Shakyamuni Buddha almost didn't teach, it is said. He thought what he had to say wouldn't be understood by people because people were too caught up in the 8 worldly dharmas, and they would not be open to and would not understand what he had to teach, and that would be tiresome for him. That would be, discouraging. And what would be the point of teaching if people don't understand? So he almost just retreated into the forest in silence. But as we know, he did teach, and he taught, it is said, because he was requested to teach, which I suppose is a sense, the sense here is that beings have to want the Dharma. People need to want, need to thirst after knowledge, after wisdom and compassion. It's not just something which is given easily, freely to people who are going to waste it, right? Or not understand it. Which is why I suppose in the Zen tradition, I think traditionally in some monasteries or centers, you would just sit outside at the gate, maybe for days on end, in whatever the weather, waiting to be let in. They wouldn't just let you in because you rang the bell or knocked on the door or made an appointment. You had to wait. You had to show you had the courage and the enthusiasm, the perseverance, that you really thirsted after the teachings. So anyway, here we pray, we with folded hands, that the Buddhas teach the Dharma, shine the lamp of Dharma. And we're apparently in a very, very fortunate time with the teachings of Shakyamuni Buddha, because not only did he teach the sutras, the basic level of teachings, he also taught Vajrayana, or the tantras, which teach a path in enabling beings, intelligent beings, to engage in practices that confer enlightenment faster than the sutra, or the ordinary, the basic path. So we need to really ensure that life after life, and definitely in this life, we receive teachings from awakened beings. Because we're bewildered in misery's gloom. Whether we are on a beach in Thailand, or whether we're in a disco, or whether we're in prison, or whether we are being tortured or massaged, or whatever's happening, or from the Buddhist perspective, from the Buddha's perspective, we are bewildered, we are confused, and in some sense we are in the grip of unsatisfactoriness. A kind, misery, of course, slightly strong word in English, but there is dukkha. Whatever we're experiencing under the control of this self-grasping attitude and habitual patterns and the effects of karma, that is all dukkha, unsatisfactoriness. It is misery, it is suffering. So we definitely need the lamp of Dharma, just as we need a torch or a candle during a power cut. We're not going to bump into things and knock over expensive items in our house. So not only we ask them to teach, we ask them to remain, stay for countless eons. Because there are dark eons, apparently, vast eons of time where there are no teaching. There's no Dharma. Beings just go through the cycle of birth, sickness, old age, death, and so forth, endlessly, without any means to be free of that. we're at a time, this fortunate, so-called fortunate eon, when there'll be 1,000 or so Buddhas spread over vast periods of time, obviously. But there are eons, there are periods, vast periods of time, incalculable. Just the number of zeros would be mind-boggling, when there are no teachings, there are no teachers. So anyway, Shantideva then goes on to say in verse 7 that, thus by the virtue collected, through all that I've done, may the pain of every living creature be completely cleared away. Not just, may I help someone with a meal, or get rid of their headache, or, help them in one lifetime, to be, to help them study and get a job. Not just that. May the pain of every living creature be completely cleared away through the virtue, through the positive energy I've created, through everything I've done. Well, this is a different level of thinking, right? This is like, yeah, mind-boggling. But in the beginning, we have to fake it, as Songsa Rinpoche says. In the beginning, it's like pretending, but the more we pretend, the more real it can become. The more we are planting the seed of that thought, that this can happen, I must do this. So now let's engage in a thought experiment before we get too tired. And this is something one can do, and we have done at our school in Bodh Gaya with children. Children enjoy these kind of things, and children have a good imagination. We can become a little bit stuffy and when we get older, but we could actually engage in this with some enthusiasm. Here we have to engage in a kind of make-believe, which for now seems like a make-believe. Shantideva is saying, may I be the doctor? Or let's say, may I be a doctor? May I be medicine? May I be a nurse? Okay, for every sick person. And then he goes on to say, and imply, he says, may I change into food and drink? May my body change more? May I transform into food and drink at times when there is famine and shortage of food and drink? May I become a treasure for those who are poor and destitute? May I become whatever people need? Not only may I become what they need, may I be placed close beside those people. Reminds one of the great Bodhisattva, yeah? He lies down next to the tigress so that she can eat him up and not starve to death. And he makes it easier for her by cutting his own throat, because she didn't have the strength to kill him. So he lay down next to her, having cut his own throat. Yeah. So whatever people need, if they need one's body to eat up, so be it, So if one could do that. Anyway, let's engage in this thought experiment. Imagine our body is turning into whatever other people need. So you can be very creative about it. Some people need houses, some people need clothes, some people need companions, some people need medicine, some people need whatever it is, We turn into that. Our body transforms into that. So if you've engaged in any kind of Vajrayana practice, you'll know there's this practice of giving and, sending out light rays and so forth. So, we send out all manner of, emanations, if you like. There's this very body turns into something useful for others. So let's play around with this, but with this very compassionate motivation, because actually people do need these things. Some people in the height of winter do need a heater, otherwise they freeze to death. People need food. People need peace. So you could emanate your body as so many people who are helping bring peace in areas where there's warfare. Emanate as being a very powerful and wise, kind advisor for powerful people, turning them away from their aggressive activities. Whatever. Be creative. Transform into what people need. Children, young people, adults, old people. Transform into anything that benefits others. This could be very individual. You could have very individual responses to this. One of the most moving photographs I've ever seen was in Life magazine many years ago, showing an orphan boy in Austria after, I think just at the end of the war, the Second World War, who has just received he's just received a new pair of shoes. And he's so delighted, He's clutching those shoes to his heart as though he's, received his heartfelt wish, So, yeah, emanate whatever people need at a particular time to be happy. For that young boy, it was shoes, a pair of new shoes. It could be anything that is benefiting that being, not harming. Transform into that. And very importantly, for those who need a guide, who feel they don't have any direction or guide in life, life seems meaningless for them, we must transform into guides, wise, kind guides for others. To shine a light in the darkness for such people, such beings. Remembering, of course, that they have continue to be very kind to us, simply by being there, simply by being beings. They are beneficial for us. We depend on them. And we can imagine that as we transform into all these different people or objects, beings are made happy. Those who are without hope, they gain hope. Those who are without friends, they gain friends. Those who are without a guide, they receive a guide. Those who are without the necessary resources to live, they become imbued with those things. So in this way, we create the cause to become wish fulfilling for others. Meaning we can fulfill other beings' wishes, especially their dharma wishes, but also their temporal wishes, whatever is necessary for beings to be happy. Dedicate the positive energy from this part of the session that we may actually become like this for others. We may become bodhisattvas who are able to fulfill the wishes of a tremendous number of beings. And not only that, progress to full Buddhahood, full awakening for the benefit of others. Okay, take a short break to stretch or stand. Like those who are hungry or thirsty, please enjoy food and drink. I think there's something at the back. We all, yeah, nobody fell asleep, it seems. People online are okay. Yeah, Naveen ji, online. Naveen, there's a Naveen here as well, by the way. Two Naveens now. You're not the only Naveen.
As if one is not bad enough.
Yes. So we could, I suppose, we could have some discussion. I was planning to do some mantra, not do mantra, but engage in some recitation. What do people want? We can do that. Onliners, what do you want?
Vajrasattva, is it possible?
Sorry?
The 100-syllable Vajrasattva, is it possible?
It's possible, but not appropriate. Most people don't know that mantra, and it would be like gobbledygook for them. So,
Tara mantra?
Tara, one could do Tara, yeah. I was planning to do Avalokitesvara, but yeah. Any more for Tara? Hands up. Hands up, Tara. Okay, Tara. Yeah, we'll do some Tara then. Tara, the protector, liberator from fear. So then that is good because with Tara, we imagine Tara above our heads or in space before us, and from her, you see, limitless light and nectar is emanating into all directions, transforming into, well, traditionally liberating, purifying all the beings and transforming them into Tara. But you could be creative and imagine that, whatever, from her body, the light is carrying whatever is necessary for the living beings to be happy. And but traditionally we engage in this practice to liberate and enlighten. So you're not just like, I mean, you could have Tara's light rays carrying, boxes of barfi and chocolate, but that's not the main reason to do the Tara, visualization. The light rays should be purifying rays that purify the beings and get rid of all of their obscurations and bestow all good qualities, all enlightened qualities, and bring them to enlightenment. But sometimes that can be a bit too much. What is enlightenment? It's far away. I mean, what does it mean? So one could imagine one is just offering beings that light is just bringing tremendous sense of freedom. Yeah, freedom from fear, freedom from all the fears of that we go through. Panic, the fear, anxiety, depression, fear of others, fear of whatever it is, fear of harm, fear of violence, fear of sickness, fear of death. There's so many fears, yeah. So Tara can protect from those fears. How? Not by magic, because she, the energy of Tara helps awaken our own potential awakening energy, especially that connected with the wind element. See, different Buddhas have different connections with different elements, and Tara is connected with the wind element in our body, and wind is the fastest element. That is why her practice is said to potentially bring quick inspiration and results. So we can recite the mantra out loud 21 times and then silently under the breath while maintaining a visualization. Tara, green Tara, right foot extended, left foot tucked in the meditation posture, right foot extended in the gesture of well, it's called the dance posture, I think, but what it symbolizes is that she's very quick to jump into enlightened activity, benefiting others. That's the meaning of the Tara. And the left hand is at the heart, symbolizing Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. The right hand is with the palm upward by the right knee in a gesture of bestowing, of giving, bestowing sublime realizations of the path. It's a gesture of, so you had a stream of water, flowing through your right hand. It's coming out of, so that gesture of giving sublime realizations. So she's very beautifully adorned with raiments, but actually visualization is to be considered in the nature of light. It's in the nature of light. Blissful light, and blissful light and nectar is emanating from her heart into all directions of space. Reaching each and every sentient being. You can imagine yourself surrounded by beings, your mother, father, friends, relations, whether living or dead, terms of the parents, whatever, but visualize them. And then also neutral people, and if you can, a few people you don't like, and also people you feel in the world who need that energy of Tara to, because it's fear, basically fear and insecurity that provokes aggression in us as a defensive mechanism. So if Tara can bring freedom from fear to everyone, there'll be less aggression, less war, less conflict. So you can recite 21 times the Om Taretu Taretu Re Swaha. Om Tare Ato Taretu Re Swaha. Om Tare Ato Taretu Re Swaha. Om Tare To 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 Tare. Om Tutaritu. So, imagine the light and nectar from Aryatara has completely purified us, oneself, and all the beings around us. All their karmic obscurations, sickness, disease, all their fears completely dissolved. They've transformed into beings of light. And then Tara, imagine Tara dissolves into light, that dissolves into us. Feel a sense of complete togetherness, complete oneness with the holy mind of Tara and all the Buddhas throughout space. And please dedicate that as a result of reflecting on these verses from Shantideva and engaging in short mantra and visualization connected with Aryatara, she who protects from all fears, may positive energy created may create the cause for us to never be separated from Mahayana guides and authentic Mahayana Dharma. May we embody the activities of bodhisattvas, happily renouncing the self-cherishing attitude and very most happily and joyfully cherishing others, seeing others as most precious and kind. And we also, of course, dedicate for the swift return of a healthy reincarnation of Lama Zopa Rinpoche, who passed away on the 13th of April, having guided students for many, many, many years. Passed away at the age of 77 in Kathmandu. In his past life, apparently, he was a great Nyingma practitioner in the region of Solukhumbu, not far from Mount Everest. His cave there was at a height of 13,000 feet, 14,000 feet. So in his next life, may he also be someone very approachable, who we can quickly connect with and benefit from. But also, most importantly, may we practice what he taught. And central to that was what we've been reflecting on, the Bodhicitta, great compassionate attitude of Bodhicitta. So we can be happy we approximated that, attempted that in the session, and well, we'll dedicate that and recite the quick return prayer, which was written by a very special lady practitioner, Kadrola. And she wrote it in a very heartfelt manner on a flight between Delhi and Kathmandu. And she was going to Nepal to oversee practices being engaged in after Rinpoche's passing away. Lama, you know, Lama, you know. I beg you to listen to me, gentle root Lama. I appeal to you with a sudden desperate request. Do not deprive us of your compassionate refuge. Lama, you are the blessings of the Buddhas of the 3 times. Even though you are now in the great pervasive bliss of the unobstructed sphere of clear light, it is now that we need your great compassion. Quickly emanate the supreme body of the transcendental wisdom emanation from the various emanations of the dance of the great compassion of the Supreme Mind. Arise. Rise, return from the sphere of the Dharmakaya. I invoke you. I invoke you. I invoke you for the sake of beings. Do not remain in the pure land of the Dakinis and other pure lands, but please return at once to make the scriptural and realizational teachings flourish for the sentient beings of the world to the south. Come back right away, because the desperate beings who are kind are desperately calling you. They want to see you, they want to be blessed in body, speech, and mind. We are the sentient beings, hallucinated and confused by the conception of ignorance. In the sphere of the luminous emptiness of the 3 supreme bodies, we confess the samayas that we have degenerated. Let there be the auspiciousness of emptiness and compassion, the supreme auspiciousness of all auspiciousness. Let there be the auspiciousness of the quick meeting of disciples and teacher. By the power of the truth of unchanging reality, may the perfect reincarnation quickly appear. I, the Dakini, with pure faith in sorrow, weeping in despair, due to the blessings of the 3 roots of the Lama, the Yidam, and the Dakini, may the wishes of this beggar be fulfilled. Object, subject, action, in the sphere of the reality of luminosity and bliss. Ah. Ah is the syllable that is the concise, most concise pith, quintessential essence of the perfection of wisdom. Can all come down to a syllable, ah. Okay, thank you very much. Those online still here. And, everyone at Tushita, a good 12, 13 people today at Tushita, or more actually. Yeah, 11, 12 people. Out of 22 million in Delhi or whatever, pretty good. We're the lucky one. Or unlucky. I think very lucky, very lucky. The blessings of the teacher, the Lama, the Yidam is the Ishta Devta or the meditational deity one chooses in tantric practice. And the Dakini is the Dakini, the enlightened helper. I was laughing because Sagar is wearing what looks like a brand new t-shirt with Levi scrolled on it, which is a great improvement. You remember on the black, always the black he used to wear for years, months on end, black, black, black. So he's got a t-shirt and a mask. This recovering. You've recovered now, huh? Pretty much. Almost.
It wasn't COVID, but
Huh?
it wasn't COVID.
Wasn't COVID. Okay. Thank goodness. Otherwise, they have to fumigate
That-
this.
You have to show us a t-shirt, Kabir.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Yeah, this is not just aspiration, but action. This is for old friends for Saga. Ocean of good activities. Hmm. Okay, that's it. That's it. You got your money's worth today, folks. Almost 2 hours.
Show him the Calvin and Hobbes I sent you today.
You what?
The Calvin and Hobbes strip, which pertain to the t-shirts. The
Calvin and Hobbes strip. Oh, which you sent me?
Yeah, today.
Acha. Acha. Okay. Usually Sujitji sends poetry, but today he must have had a I don't know, some kind of whimsical sense of sending something else. Sorry, my mind doesn't work well after 8 p.m. Okay. Acha, it's rather small. Okay. We can turn it around, right? No, okay. Can you see that? Is it reading the right way?
We can see
It
it,
seems-
but we can't.
Huh?
I think it is specifically for Sagar. It talks
Oh.
about a t-shirt with a logo. So
I wish my shirt had a logo or a product on it. Okay. And a good shirt turns the wearer into a walking corporate billboard. It says to the world, my identity is so wrapped up in what I buy that I paid the company to advertise its products. Then the tiger friend says, you'd admit that? Oh, sure. Endorsing products is the American way to express individuality. Anyway.
Thank you, Swamiji.
anytime, Sagar.
Sagar isn't into all that stuff. Yeah, he's a true original. Okay. Thank you, Sujitji. I'm tempted to read one of your poems now, but I won't. It's late. Although the what you sent before that was brilliant.
Maybe a short one, Kabir.
Well, there's this robber at the bank, I presume. He's got a cigarette in his left hand with a black shirt and a black beret. And he says to the cashier, the lady cashier with glasses behind the counter, hand over the money or I'll explain the absurdity of all human activity. And the title is Existential Threat. I think that's brilliant. Hand over the money or I'll explain the absurdity of all human activity. Anyway, what we did just now is not absurd. And yeah, we should rejoice. And your t-shirt is the sign you put before, after HTTPS, right? Something like that. Trust Vishad to have a sign like that. Okay, sign or no sign. Goodbye to everyone. Tomorrow, tomorrow is Buddha Purnima. So at 11:30, we will have some meditation on Bodhicitta here at Tushita and on Zoom. And then at 6:30 tomorrow, we have prayers and sutra recitations, some sutra recitation. Yeah. Okay. So thank you all very much indeed. Take care.